I am the woman of a mafia boss. After our marriage, he spoiled me beyond measure, flaunting our love across every major media outlet. I thought he loved me to the bone. I couldn't help but announce his love for me to the entire world, until the day I overheard a conversation between him and his subordinates. I walk both the underworld and the legitimate world. I have too many enemies. If I don't turn Selena into my obvious weak spot, how could Elise ever be safe? So all the injuries I suffered for him were nothing but a joke. If that's the case, then whoever wants to be a living target can do it themselves. Chapter 1. Boss. Aren't you going too far? Sister-in-law is still badly injured, and that woman only had a minor scrape with someone. You're rushing over to see her? By doing this, you're putting both yourself and sister-in-law in danger. Leo's brother's voice came through the crack in the wall. I stopped in my tracks, stunned for a second. The villa had many hidden rooms with excellent soundproofing, unless the people inside were especially emotional. A moment later, I heard the sound of something being smashed. What do you mean you only love Elise? Sister-in-law has been your scapegoat for so many years. She's more than earned it. If you don't love her at all, why won't you let her go? If it were that woman instead, you'd have been dead a long time ago. Shut up. If I don't make Selena my weak spot, how could Elise be safe? She's been my wife for so many years. I haven't treated her badly. Leo's voice was clear and low. I leaned against the wall, struggling to process what I had just heard. So all these years, the one Leo loved was someone else, and I was just a human shield? I staggered back to the bedroom. The wound in my abdomen, injured because of him, split open again, blood seeping through, but the pain in my body was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. The apple Leo had carefully sliced for me by the bed suddenly felt like a cruel joke. He treated me too well, so openly, so extravagantly, that everyone envied me. Leo had countless businesses along the borders. He dominated both the black and white worlds. In 5 years, I'd been kidnapped 3 times because of him, taken 2 knife attacks for him, and blocked a bullet once. For him, I'd even been willing to give up my life. I thought he loved me desperately, but it was all fake. You just went out? Leo's voice suddenly sounded behind me, with tears streaming down my face. I looked into his smiling phoenix eyes. Countless times I'd secretly rejoiced at my luck, how I'd married such a handsome man. But now, in his eyes, I saw bone-deep coldness. Selena, are you afraid of me? Where did you just go? He was far too smart. I forced a weak smile. I just woke up and didn't see you. I got scared and went looking. I still haven't recovered. From an ordinary student to a boss's woman, it only took 1 night. After my first kidnapping, I was left with trauma. As long as I couldn't see Leo, I'd tremble with fear. He didn't suspect a thing. Gently touching my lips, his long fingers brushed along my jaw, teasing my ear, then slid to my neck, trailing down my spine. I couldn't help but inhale sharply. That wandering hand finally stopped at my waist. The heat from his palm ignited every inch of my skin. Tomorrow, I'll be gone for a day. Be good and stay home. He kissed me lightly by the lips. Every word he spoke turned into warm breath, brushing against my ear. I shivered, clutching his clothes. Leo. The wound. His expression changed instantly. He stripped me clean in 2 swift movements, seeing the bandages soaked through with blood. His handsome brows knit tightly. Selena, are you trying to make me worry myself to death? He personally changed my bandages. The anxiety in his eyes didn't seem fake at all, but in my mind, the words I'd overheard replayed again and again. He was leaving for a day. What was he planning to do during that day? Go see the woman he was protecting. With my life? Chapter 2. That night, Leo held me tightly and slept deeply. I, however, did not sleep at all. It wasn't until the next day, after he left and I confirmed he had boarded the plane, that I finally opened my eyes. From the bedroom to the study was only a short distance. In the small study at home, everything he kept was related to me. From our first anniversary to my most recent birthday, every detail, large or small, was arranged neatly. Anyone who saw it would sigh in admiration at how deeply he loved me. Only I knew that inside the hidden compartment of the drawer, there was a diary that did not belong to me. Leo once mentioned it to me when he was drunk. That day, he said many apologies, but at the time, My entire world was filled with him, and I didn't take it seriously. The next day, when he sobered up, he had forgotten he ever told me. I pulled open the hidden compartment and brushed the dust off the diary. The password was extremely intricate. It was obvious the owner treasured this diary deeply. I had never imagined that the cryptography I studied in university would be useful at a moment like this. The lock clicked open. On the first page, in Leo's strong, forceful handwriting, was written one name, Elise. The first 10 pages were all about how much he loved Elise. Between the lines, there was such caution, such burning intensity mixed with fear, emotions I had never seen from him. With me, he was always composed and effortless. I thought it was because he was mature, no longer possessing the fiery passion of youth. So it turned out it wasn't maturity. It was that he didn't love me. The final page was written in chaotic strokes. Elise has been targeted for assassination. She was right. People in our line of work should never have lovers in this lifetime. I must send her away. After that, the pages turned yellowed, becoming an inserted section. The handwriting grew sparser and sparser. That little girl is easy to fool. I thought of Elise today. The little girl thought I was talking about her. It's fine, let her misunderstand. That way, Elise will be safe. If she gets killed while being my wife, she probably wouldn't mind. I will be punished for this. I arranged a kidnapping. Everything was within control. As expected, she was traumatized. In this lifetime, she will never be able to leave me. I will spend my whole life compensating her. I pressed my hands hard against my eyes, terrified that tears would fall. So the person he wanted to be with openly had never been me. Our meeting, our love, our marriage, our happiness, everything from the beginning until now had been my own Truman Show. I closed the diary, carefully put it back in its place, and only after leaving the study did I allow the tears to fall. I curled myself into a tight ball. My mind flashed back to the first time I was kidnapped. Back then, Leo and I were inseparable. I had just been discharged from the hospital and wanted to tell him the good news that I was pregnant. But the moment I got into that car, I lost consciousness. Those beasts dragged me across the ground. The extreme cold and brutal torture made it impossible for me to keep the child. When Leo rushed in and held me in his arms, my consciousness was already fading. That was also when I developed psychological trauma. I could no longer be away from Leo for long, and my body was completely ruined. Leo comforted me, saying it didn't matter if we didn't have a child. Now I understood, he never intended to have a child with me from the very beginning, and it was his own hands that had crushed every possibility I had. What I thought was salvation and deep devotion turned out to be a scheme he had directed and acted out himself. The pain in my chest made it impossible to breathe. I couldn't resist the somatic reaction and collapsed onto the bed, trembling uncontrollably. In this extreme pain, I instead gradually calmed down. Every detail of my 5 years with Leo replayed endlessly in my mind. These 5 years, I had faced death countless times. Every time, he spared no effort to save me, even risking his own life. His anxiety over me was real. He was just afraid that if I died, the danger would fall upon his white moonlight. Trembling, I picked up my phone and checked Leo's transaction records over the years. He had a company overseas, mainly dealing in jewelry. All the gifts he had given me over the years came from that company. Chapter 3. That company didn't make any profit from the public at all. Each year, its cash flow consisted of nothing but the 100 million Leo transferred on a fixed basis, plus additional funds allocated by the group. Yet its business scope was astonishingly broad, and every single product it produced appeared on the woman named Elise. I found Elise's account on Facebook. She was living comfortably in a seaside villa. In her latest post, she was holding hands with a man, fingers interlaced. The caption read, "My beloved, you, so close, even at the ends of the earth." I zoomed in on the photo again and again. On the man's ring finger was a ruby couple's ring identical to Elise's, and on his wrist, there was a pale circle. Leo once told me he didn't like wearing rings. So at our wedding, everything was there, except rings. I actually believed him. I even wove a bracelet with my own hands and put it on his wrist. That day, he lowered his head and kissed the bracelet, saying it was his lucky charm, that he would never take it off. But the moment he went to see Elise, he took the bracelet off. So it wasn't that he didn't like wearing rings. He just didn't like wearing them with me. I kept scrolling, On February 14th, Leo gave Elise a sapphire necklace made from a single sapphire, carved from the finest part of the stone. That same day, Leo gave me a necklace made of blue diamond chips. On July 7th, Leo bought the finest pieces of Jiang silk and had an entire outfit made for Elise. That same day, Leo gave me a Jiang scarf. Page after page, I scrolled on. I buried my face into the pillow, laughing soundlessly until my body convulsed. In that manic state, my pulse felt as though it had stopped beating. In Leo's eyes, I was nothing more than Elise's leftovers, a human shield. Every gift he ever gave me was merely an afterthought, something extra after he had carefully prepared everything for Elise. 5 years of love, gone in a single morning. I cried the entire night. During that time, Leo sent me a message. I used to think it was because he loved me, that he wanted to know how I was every day. Now I finally understood. He was afraid that his human shield would run away. Since that was the case, how could I possibly let him get what he wanted? Early the next morning, I contacted a lawyer and told him to cancel all of my identity records as quickly as possible. Leo came back in the middle of the night. The moment he walked in, he couldn't wait to bury his face in the crook of my neck. Selena, did you miss me? Without you, I didn't sleep at all last night. There were dark circles under his eyes. He really did look like he hadn't slept all night. In the past, I would have been deeply moved. But now, I didn't dare move a single inch. He clearly didn't love me. Yet this display of affection was so affected that it made me sick. Feeling shy? He lowered his head and chuckled softly. With a sudden force, he yanked me into his arms, squeezing out a muffled whimper from my throat. I was like one of his dolls. He never cared whether I was asleep or not. Tears slid from the corners of my eyes and were quickly absorbed by the pillow, as if the sorrow had never existed. Early the next morning, the moment I opened my eyes, I saw Leo's darkened expression. Thinking of his reputation outside, fear made me shrink back instinctively. Your phone rang. What did you cancel? I hurriedly looked down at my phone. It was a message from the lawyer. He had already finished canceling my identity records. In 3 hours, it would take effect. I forced a slight curve at the corner of my lips. It's nothing, just an email account. I used it before. It had been inactive for too long, and I was afraid it might leave traces if it got reclaimed. So I just canceled it. Oh. Leo leaned closer meaningfully. His large hand cupped the back of my head, plundering every inch of air from me until I had no strength left and went limp in his arms. Selena, don't lie to me. Don't betray me. I nodded desperately, tears trembling in my eyes. The overwhelming fear made my fingertips turn ice cold. Soon, very soon, I would escape from his side. Very soon, there would no longer be a Selena next to Leo. Thankfully, the phone rang just in time, stopping Leo from going any further. What? You're saying Elise is back? Who let her come back? Wait for me, I'm coming right now. Leo's voice was dark as he strode out, not sparing me even a glance. I kept telling myself to breathe. Before leaving, there was one more thing I had to do. Even if my identity was cancelled, I didn't want the name Selena to ever be written alongside Leo's again. After studying my emotions, I received a message from the private investigator. The string of numbers on the screen was Elisa's phone number. Hello, I'm Leo's wife. Let's meet. Chapter 4. Elise chose the meeting place. It was the largest hotel in the city, separated by a folding screen. I heard heavy, ragged breathing. Can't you listen for once? It isn't safe around me. I had seen every side of Leo, cold, gentle, ruthless, but this was the first time I'd ever heard helplessness in his voice. I miss you too much. I'm about to get married, and you still won't see me. Have you really fallen in love with your wife? Don't talk nonsense. Everything I'm doing is just to keep you safe. Only after they finished whispering their sweet nothings did Leo leave. He was always cautious. Yet this time, he didn't notice that there was someone standing outside the screen. I couldn't see my own expression, but it must have been bitterly mocking. Leo's gone. You really are pitiful. But since we're both women, I'm still willing to listen to you. Elise stepped out from behind the screen, triumph written all over her brows and eyes. Her skin glowed with health. Her clothes were tasteful yet perfectly flattering, and the exposed skin looked like smooth white jade. I glanced down at my own casual clothes. Ever since I got together with Leo, I hadn't dared wear anything pretty, because I didn't have the courage to expose the scars on my body. Constant injuries had made me look far weaker than Elise. She didn't need to say a word, just standing there and looking me up and down was already the greatest mockery. I didn't come to fight you for Leo. I've been by his side long enough. He may not be completely without feelings for me. After being with Leo for so many years, I'd also learned how to borrow power by association. You agreed to see me today because you want me to back off, right? I know I can't compare to you. I just want his handwritten signature as a keepsake. When I walked out of the hotel, my steps felt much lighter. Over the past 2 days, I had done everything I could to cling to Leo. From initial cooperation, he eventually grew impatient, but it didn't matter as long as I achieved my goal. 2 days later, Elise indeed gave me a signature. When I saw it, I finally let out a breath and immediately went to print the divorce agreement. On the morning of the 3rd day, my identity was completely cancelled. I gathered all the gifts Leo had given me, along with that diary, and placed them in the most conspicuous spot in the villa. These scraps that belonged to someone else were better returned to their original owner. As for everything that belonged to me, it was all burned to ashes the moment before I boarded the plane. In the departure lounge, I opened my phone and sent Elise a message with only 2 words. Thank you. Just as the phone was about to shut down, Leo's messages flooded into the notification bar. Baby, I'm almost home. I bought the birthday cake. It's the strawberry one you like. I'm sorry, baby. Elise isn't feeling well. She's all alone here. I'll go check on her first. The phone shut down completely. The dark screen failed to show whatever he said after that. But I didn't need to see it to know. He had gone to be with Elise. I snapped the SIM card in half and threw it into the trash. Then followed the boarding announcement onto the plane. At the same time, inside a nightclub, Elise leaned weakly against Leo, a flush brought on by alcohol spreading across her face. Leo, I'm really fine. You should go back and be with Selena. I was just being willful. I couldn't help missing you. So I called you. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Leo's phone lay beside them, lighting up and dimming repeatedly. It wasn't until they left the club that he noticed the dozens of missed calls on the screen. The moment the call connected, his brother Angelo's voice came through, shaking with panic. Boss, a lawyer came to the company with divorce papers. Sister-in-law found out about you and Elise. We can't get through to sister-in-law at all. We can't contact her by any means. Chapter 5. Leo suddenly clenched his phone. The words divorce agreement spun endlessly in his mind. He had never imagined that I would divorce him. After all, when we were together, I loved him so deeply that I would even give up my life for him. What did you say? Say it again. Leo's voice was slow and low. On the other end of the line, Angelo didn't even have time to be afraid. His voice already carried the sound of sobbing. Boss, I really can't get in touch with sister-in-law. A lawyer just came over, threw down the divorce papers, and left. There was also a property division agreement attached. Your overseas company registered under Elisa's name is listed on it. Could it be that sister-in-law found out you were using her as a shield? She's been by your side for 5 years. She knows a lot. If she exposes everything in anger, then us brothers will. Shut up. Wave after wave of irritation crashed into Leo's heart like a tide. Suppress the situation. Wait until I get back to handle it. Leo, what happened? Elise tugged at the corner of his clothes. Leo forced the irritation down and tapped a few times on his phone. Selena is missing. I'll have someone take you to a hotel. A flicker of delight flashed through Elisa's eyes as she softly collapsed against Leo. She's just a target anyway. Leo, I feel so awful. Let them look for her. Stay with me, okay? Don't be willful. Leo's face turned cold as he let his men pull Elise out of the passenger seat. His attitude left Elise unable to believe it. Before, as long as she acted spoiled, Leo would always compromise without conditions. He had abandoned me more than once when I was gravely injured and on the brink of death, rushing overseas to accompany her. This time, I was merely missing, yet he was completely ignoring her. You married her just to protect me, didn't you? Leo, how can you ignore how uncomfortable I am because of her? Elisa's voice faded into the distance. Leo slammed his fist hard against the steering wheel. He floored the accelerator. Amid the howling wind, he kept reminding himself, I was just a target, a substitute meant to suffer. His urgency was only fear that I might expose him. But the moment he opened the villa door, Leo stood frozen at the entrance, unable to move. Everything related to me in the house had been cleaned away completely. Only by the front door, neatly arranged, were all the gifts he had given me, along with the unlocked diary. He picked up the diary. It felt as though even his breathing had stopped. Boss. Angelo appeared behind him, holding the documents the lawyer had delivered. Page by page, Leo flipped through them, from the divorce agreement to proof of his affair, to every gift he had given Elise. And finally, the proof that I was leaving with nothing. Every page mocked this marriage. Compared to the gifts he had given Elise, the ones lying beside him now, those he had once given me, had become the very definition of perfunctory. He ran his fingers through his hair again and again, his emotions so tangled that even he couldn't describe them. Scenes from the past surfaced one by one in his mind. Leo buried his head painfully in his hands. Usually so restrained, he couldn't even control his breathing now. Seeing him like this, Angelo couldn't help but speak. Boss. I told you long ago, treating sister-in-law like this, you'd regret it sooner or later. She's such a good woman. We all know you've liked her for a long time. You're the only one who refuses to admit it. If you had confessed and apologized to sister-in-law earlier, she definitely would have forgiven you. You. Angelo was frightened into silence by the look Leo suddenly shot at him. How did your sister-in-law know the password? Leo's voice was hoarse as he lifted the diary and shook it in front of Angelo. He was starting to wonder, if I hadn't seen this diary, would I have stayed? And even more, whether someone had been manipulating things behind the scenes, until Angelo mentioned my advanced studies in cryptography at university, and that Leo himself had felt bothered enough to accompany me to collect my diploma. Only then did Leo look stunned, before a faint pain crossed his face. When it came to my life, he had never bothered to remember. That shallow, surface-level indifference. Only someone drowned in love like me had foolishly believed it. Go find her, no matter the cost. Bring Selena back. Angelo hesitated, not leaving immediately. Sister-in-law must have been completely heartbroken to leave. Go find her. Leo's voice grew heavier. Chapter 6. After Angelo left, Leo sat alone in the deathly silent house. Every single breath felt like a slow execution. Those pieces of jewelry made from scraps became the last consolation for his longing for me. Leo reached out and placed his hand on the jewelry, then recoiled as if cut by a blade. The diary rustled in the wind, pages turning one after another, as if someone were reading it aloud. Before his eyes, a vision flickered, me standing in the study. The look of despair on my face when I saw that diary. When he had written it, he meant to remind himself not to forget his original intention. Not to get lost in the relationship he had fabricated with his own hands. Selena, why didn't I realize that over these thousands of days and nights, I had already fallen in love with you? Leo stared at the diary, murmuring to himself. Tears fell uncontrollably as he buried his head in his palms. It was regret. It was anguish. He wished he could kill the man he used to be, just to make up for everything. When Leo's men reached the airport, the plane had already taken off. No matter how powerful they were, they couldn't force a plane to stop. As the aircraft descended, I watched them shrink into tiny black dots. When we pierced through the clouds, I could no longer see the city I had lived in for so many years. Leo, goodbye. Forever. I had long since bought a house by the sea, planning to open a flower shop. I had told Leo about it countless times, but he was always busy. Now, Leo no longer needed to explain anything to me, and I could finally fulfill my own dream. All Leo's men found at the airport was the phone I had discarded. Back at the villa, Angelo handed the phone to Leo. Boss, this is all we got. Leo took the phone and the snapped SIM card. When he turned the phone on, the messages he had sent me before I left appeared instantly. Leo, where are you? It hurts so much. I can't stand up. Have you come back yet? It hurts. Can you bring me a strawberry cake? It hurts too much. Maybe something sweet will make it better. Leo, I love you too much. If I loved you even a little less, I wouldn't have been able to endure so much pain. Leo scrolled through the messages one by one. His face was numb, but tears streamed down uncontrollably. In most of our conversations, I had been saying the same thing. It hurts. From the very beginning until now, my body was always covered in new wounds layered over old ones. There were assassinations from enemies. There were his deliberate schemes, using me as Elisa's shield. There were even beatings arranged by him, to put on a show or fight for, ordered to his own men. All that danger and torment. He was the one who had brought it all upon me. And back then, he had even been smug about it, thinking a few sweet words were enough to deceive a naive, innocent girl like me. Keep looking, no matter where Selena is. Bring her back. I'm going to see her. Leo's voice trembled. He had already decided. Even if I was on his enemy's turf, he didn't care. Boss. What's the point of crying? Sister-in-law isn't coming back. Angelo couldn't help speaking up. And if you go see her, what are you planning to say? Ask her to come back and continue being Elisa's shield? Everything you did was for Elise in the first place. Now that sister-in-law is gone, isn't it perfect for you to marry Elise? Leo shook his head slowly. Elise is about to get married. She has nothing to do with me. My wife is Selena. She was in the past. And she will be in the future. Boss, aren't you saying this a little too late? Angelo's voice suddenly turned hoarse, his eyes reddening. I've already had someone verify the signature on the divorce papers. It's your own handwriting. Sister-in-law stopped being your wife a long time ago. She didn't know your plan before, that was one thing. But now that she knows everything, why do you still want to disturb her? Even if sister-in-law were willing to forgive you and come back to live this life of guns and blades with you, could you really live with a clear conscience? Chapter 7. Leo pressed a hand against his chest. He had never once thought about how I felt. But now, hearing those words spoken by his own brother, Leo fell silent. Scenes of our first meeting slowly resurfaced in his mind. I had been holding a bouquet of flowers, telling him that I liked a quiet life, 3 meals a day, the warmth of everyday living, raising 2 or 3 cats, living in a house facing the sea, watching the sun sink into the horizon. Yet ever since we were together, I had not lived a single day like that. And what about Miss Elise? Angelo continued. What are you planning to do about her? If sister-in-law is willing to come back, how are you going to let her face Elise? Or are you planning to make me shut up too? Fire me as well, and then tell sister-in-law that she's been your wife for so many years and that you didn't really treat her badly? Leo suddenly stood up and stared at Angelo. After a long moment, he only said 2 words. Go find her. Everyone left. And in an instant, the house fell into silence. Fear surged in Leo's heart. He poured bottle after bottle of alcohol down his throat. But the momentary haze was always followed by sobering clarity. He flipped through his phone countless times. Those messages he had once grown tired of reading had now become priceless. For several days in a row, Leo only answered calls related to me. He even hung up on Elisa's calls. The phone chimed once. Leo practically leapt from the bed, lunging for his phone. But the moment he picked it up, what he saw was a message from Elise. Selena, I underestimated you. You actually used disappearing to toy with Leo completely. But since you've already left, you'd better hide well. If you show up again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Above those 2 threatening messages was the message I had sent to Elise. Thank you. The timestamp was exactly the day I left. Leo immediately sensed something was wrong and went straight to Elise. She rushed toward him delicately, but Leo stepped back coldly. What did you say to Selena? Why would Selena thank you? Elise was frightened by Leo's icy tone, but she quickly reacted and shook her head. What could I possibly say to Selena? You don't think her leaving was something I forced, do you? Leo looked at her with disappointment and took out my phone. The screen showed the provocative messages Elise had sent. At the same time, Elisa's phone was seized by Leo's men. On it, Leo saw everything. Her arranging to meet me at the hotel, her tricking him into giving his signature, her warning me to disappear forever. Every missing piece now had its answer. When Leo looked at her again, there was killing intent in his eyes for the first time. Leo, didn't you marry her to protect me? Elise cried. The one you should love is me, not a substitute. Not a target. Terrified, Elise stumbled backward step by step. She tried to stir Leo's feelings. Leo suddenly stepped forward, gripping the back of Elisa's head. Their breaths mingled, but there was only fear, not a trace of intimacy. You're right, Leo said hoarsely. From now on, I'll love you properly. After saying that, ignoring Elise's desperate cries, he turned and strode away. The whole world knew that the person Leo loved was Elise, and that I was nothing but an innocent target. That very day, Elise was dumped by her fiancé's family. Those who had once targeted Leo all shifted their attention to Elise. Everything I had once endured was replayed on her, one scene at a time. Chapter 8. Half a month later, when I heard the news of Elise's death, I was watching little ducklings wobble as they learned to walk. The news was brought by one of my regular customers. She admired the flowers in the shop, sighing over the unpredictability of life. I echoed her sentiments with a few polite words. The names Elise and Leo already felt as distant as another lifetime. Selena, a voice sounded. I turned around, and my expression instantly turned cold. Leo rushed over quickly the moment I shut the shop door. He thrust his hand inside. In an instant, his fingers turned blue and purple. He clenched his teeth, no matter how much it hurt. Even as sweat poured down, he refused to pull back. Let me say a few words to you, please? Leo's voice was almost pleading. The surrounding customers all looked over. I had no choice but to open the door and let him in. After settling the customers, I poured him a cup of coffee and placed it in front of him. Only then did I have the chance to look at him carefully. In just one short month, it was as if 10 years had passed over him. His hair was streaked with gray. Dark circles weighed heavily under his eyes. It was obvious he hadn't been living well. But I didn't understand. He loved Elise so much. I had already stepped aside. Why, then, was he still living so badly? Selena, do you really not love me anymore? Tears filled his eyes as he began with that single sentence. I stared at him in silence. I didn't even know how to answer. Perhaps, from the very beginning, I hadn't loved him at all. What I loved was the Leo he had constructed. The Leo who loved Selena deeply. And the reason I had stayed by his side, doing all those things for him, was also for that Leo who loved me. Seeing me remain silent, Leo looked deeply shaken. Selena, if from now on, I never let you get hurt again, if I truly love you now, would you be willing to come back with me? He looked at me with anticipation. Instinctively, I leaned back against the chair, putting distance between us. Are you planning to find another innocent girl to replace me? And in the end, let her die miserably like I did before, like Elise did now? Leo's pupils trembled. He stared at me in disbelief, as if my words had dealt him a devastating blow. In your eyes, am I really that kind of person? I said nothing. What else could I say? What kind of person did he think he was? He was nothing more than a demon who prided himself on devotion, yet piled all suffering onto others. When he loved to the bone, sparing nothing. When he didn't, he showed no mercy at all. Leo suddenly avoided my gaze. We sat there quietly, until the sun sank into the horizon. When the last trace of crimson faded completely, Leo let out a long sigh. Selena, at least I've accompanied you once to watch the sunset. I looked at him in surprise. I hadn't expected him to remember that old wish of mine, that I wanted him to watch the sunset with me once. Back then, Leo was willing to give me anything, except his time. Now, this companionship had finally arrived, but I no longer wished to feel it. I only felt a dull ache in my waist. Leo avoided my eyes again. When he reached the door of the shop, he suddenly turned back to look at me. Selena, I'm willing to give up everything, my identity, my wealth, everything. I just want to disappear, to accompany you to the ends of the earth. Watch the sun rise and set, grow flowers, raise chickens, cook 3 meals a day. Would you be willing? He looked at me, trembling with tension, just like I once had when I said these words to him. But this time, I was the one refusing. I've already done all that myself. Leo, what's lost can never be recovered. You go chase your moonlight. I'll pick up my sixpence. In the past, now, and in the future, always. Just like the Selena who once loved Leo with all her heart. She would never come back. Leo avoided my gaze one last time. This time, he left in utter disarray, not even waiting for me to finish speaking. Chapter 9. In the days that followed, Leo kept calling me. I never answered a single call. Later, He began writing to me through every channel he could find. Often, naive children would bring the letters over and read them aloud to me. He wrote that he had fallen in love with me long ago, only that his love was so deep he never realized it. He wrote that if he didn't see me for even a single day, he couldn't sleep, that I had already seeped into his bones and become a part of every moment of his life. I found it all unbearably noisy. At first, I would ask the children to send replies for me, telling him not to disturb me anymore, that there was no possibility between us. Later, I simply moved away. The next time I boarded a plane, irritated and exhausted, I went straight to the territory of Leo's sworn enemy. I thought that would finally bring me peace. But a year later, I still went to see Leo. At his funeral, I never thought Leo would die so young. Who could have imagined it? About a year ago, Leo's people seemed to go mad, retaliating against everyone. I heard it was all for his girlfriend, Elise. Everyone was sighing over his love for Elise. Only I knew, the place where he died was not far from my villa. Sister-in-law. Miss Selena. I turned around and saw Angelo standing not far away, waving at me. Inside the room, his eyes red. He handed me a box. Actually, that night, boss wanted to go see you one last time, but on the way, he realized someone was tailing him. So, I pressed my lips together. My condolences, sister-in-law. Boss knew he wronged you. Everything in this box was left for you. All of his assets, every last one, have been transferred to you. Before he died, he entrusted me with one sentence, asking me to tell you. He begged you not to hate him. As the words fell, Angelo was already crying uncontrollably. That day, until I left Leo's funeral, I never gave Angelo an answer. I couldn't bring myself not to hate him. After all, he had buried my youth. Every bit of property Leo left me, I donated to society. I retook my doctoral exams, and everything became a brand new beginning.